You bought a lottery ticket and, miracle, you hit the jackpot. Life is good. However, reality can turn out to be much scarier than any fantasy. Today you will find out what really happens after a person wins billions of dollars, and why for some people this becomes not the beginning of a dream, but the beginning of a real nightmare. Some disappear forever, some end up poisoned, some lose everything. Today on the channel for the richest, we have the 20 largest lottery wins in history. Number 20, $533 million. Powerball and Mega Millions jackpots are becoming more and more astronomical. These days, a prize of $1 billion does not really surprise anyone, and sometimes they reach $1.5 billion, and even higher. But who actually gets these incredible sums? Let us find out. The story of Richard Wall is a classic example of a regular guy who became a multi-millionaire overnight. In the year 2018, he was working as a manager at a food plant in New Jersey. On one ordinary day, March 30th, he had only $22 in his pocket. He stopped at a gas station, bought some fuel, and at the same time, a Mega Millions ticket. When he realized he had won, he reread the combination of numbers on the ticket 15 times. At first, he thought he had become a millionaire, but in fact, he turned out to be the sole winner of $533 million. He acted wisely and chose a lump sum payment. After taxes, about $175 million were deposited into his account. So what does a person do with that kind of fortune? Richard decided to start a new, quiet millionaire life in Florida. In the year 2019, he was struck by a business idea. He bought a hotel on the Atlantic coast, La Playa Resort and Suites. The building had been closed since the year 2016, when Hurricane Matthew seriously damaged it. Wall wanted to breathe new life into it and reopen it as a timeshare. He bought the property and started reconstruction. And then the year 2020 arrived. Yes, that very same year. Not the best time for the tourism industry or construction projects. Years have gone by and La Playa Resort is still listed as permanently closed. If the hotel never opens, Wall will lose at least $13 million invested in the purchase, plus the money spent on restoration. One realtor suggested that the total cost of a full renovation could reach $24 million. For most people, such a failure would be a catastrophe, but for Richard Wall, this is only one of 3 possible missteps before he would be left with only $25 million. Number 19, $536 million. The next winners were a married couple from Hamilton County, Indiana. This happened on July 8, 2016. They were traveling with their 2 children and, as usually happens on long trips, they stopped at a gas station. There they bought 5 Mega Millions tickets and simply forgot about them. Almost a month later, they accidentally found the tickets and decided to check them, and that is when their life changed forever. The jackpot of $536 million was theirs. The couple did not want to put their private life on public display. Their priority was to preserve a normal existence for themselves and their children. So they did the smart thing. They registered a limited liability company and claimed a prize on behalf of that entity. As a result, the names of these lucky winners remain unknown. Sometimes, however, it is simply impossible to stay in the shadows, especially when there are many winners, as in the next case. $543 million, year 2018. When the Mega Millions jackpot in 2018 climbed past $500 million, an employee of Wells Fargo named Ronald Reyes decided to try his luck. He gathered 10 more colleagues, and each of them put in $2. The ticket paid off, and the 11 people shared the grand prize of $543 million. Even divided into 11 parts, the amount was still impressive, and the person who sold them the winning ticket received a bonus of $1 million. Since the win took place in California, all participants were required to disclose their names. However, after the victory was announced, they practically disappeared from the public eye. It is quite likely that the collective win helped them stay more or less unnoticed. By the way, at first, none of them even quit their jobs at the bank, but there are cases where anonymity becomes a matter of personal safety. Then you have to fight even with the law to keep it. Number 17. $559.7 million. Strangely enough, in some states, the law requires winners to disclose their names. Lottery commissions love to publish winners' identities. It strengthens trust in the system and serves as excellent advertising. But there is a flip side. When the whole world finds out that you have become rich, you can face anything from stalking to attempted fraud or even kidnapping. That is exactly what happened in New Hampshire, where a woman under the pseudonym Jane Doe won $559,700,000 in Powerball and sued the lottery. Her goal was to keep her real name secret, even despite the legal requirement. The case reached the state Supreme Court. She won. The court allowed her to cross out her name on the winning ticket and write instead the name of a trust she had created, Good Karma Family Trust of 2018. As a result, she received $264 million after taxes. The mission to protect her privacy was successfully accomplished. But even if you are not afraid of publicity, trouble can still find you. The next story is exactly about that. Number 16. $590 million. On May 18, 2013, 84-year-old Gloria McKenzie, a former teacher, was standing in line for a Powerball ticket. According to different versions, either someone let her go ahead or she simply stepped past someone. Accounts differ. The main thing is that she bought a ticket with randomly generated numbers, and those random numbers brought her a win of $590.5 million. Of course, she chose a lump sum payment. After taxes, $278 million ended up in her account. You would think that in retirement she could finally relax, but things did not go smoothly. 6 years later, Gloria sued her own son. She claimed that he had hired an incompetent financial advisor for her, just because he heard his ad on the radio. This specialist, according to her, not only failed to grow the capital, but also took $2 million in fees for himself. The legal battle continued until her death in the year 2021. Not exactly the kind of legacy she probably wanted to leave her children. Now, we are moving beyond the range of 500 million and into the territory where the amounts really begin to break your sense of reality, even when they are divided among several people. Number 15. $632 million. In January 2022, the Powerball jackpot remained untouched for 3 months, and the grand prize gradually grew to a colossal $632 million. Then, on January 5th, there were immediately 2 winning tickets. The first belonged to a married couple from Wisconsin, Cliff and Tammy Webster. These modest Midwesterners chose a lump sum payment and took home slightly less than $104 million after all deductions. Their life, it seems, did not change dramatically. They stayed out of the headlines and are probably enjoying peace and quiet. The second winner, Orlando Zavala Lozano from California, also did not make a fuss about his victory. He calmly presented the winning ticket 4 months later, and since then, almost nothing has been heard about him. Sometimes it happens like that. Enormous money, no sensational stories. Number 14. $648 million. The week before Christmas 2013, Mega Millions delighted 2 winners at once, giving each of them half of $648 million. The first was a grandmother from Georgia named Ira Curry. She quickly came forward and claimed her share. The second winner, a delivery driver from Northern California named Steve Tran, did not find out about his win right away. The thing is, he bought tickets in different cities and simply stacked them in a pile in his bedroom. While the lucky ticket was waiting for its moment, Steve was spending the holidays on vacation. After returning home, he heard that the winning ticket had been bought in San Jose. Then he remembered, I was there. He checked his collection, and yes, his ticket turned out to be the winner. First he told his wife, and then his boss, with the words, I am not coming back to work. Number 13. $656 million. On March 30th, 2012, this was the largest win in the history of Mega Millions. The total jackpot amounted to $656 million, and 3 tickets turned out to be winning. 2 of the 3 winners preferred to remain anonymous. One was a resident of Kansas. The others were a group of teachers from Maryland who called themselves the Three Amigos. The third winning couple decided to go public. Patricia admitted that when she found out about the win, she laughed uncontrollably for 4 hours straight. They received their share of the prize. guys, approximately $158 million, and of course, bought a luxurious mansion in Florida. Later, however, they sold it and, according to rumors, returned to their former home in Redbud. Apparently, home comfort turned out to be more important than luxury. $687 million, year 2018. 4 days before Halloween 2018, Powerball once again awarded millions to two lucky winners. The first winner was Laren West from the town of Redfield, Iowa. She bought a ticket while walking with her sister and left it lying on the floor of a pickup truck. Fortunately, it was still there when she came back for it. After winning, she appeared in public and even went on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, where she donated $500,000 to a fund that helps disabled veterans. The second winner was Robert Bailey from New York. He was a retiree living in Manhattan and at that moment became the holder of the largest jackpot in the history of the state. After taxes, his win amounted to $125 million. Robert said that he wanted to secure his family's future, but he did not plan to change his lifestyle. Moreover, he intended to keep playing the lottery. $699.8 million. In the fall of 2021, Powerball struck again. The jackpot reached almost $700 million, and this time, one man was lucky, Steve Godfrey from the city of Morro Bay, California. 5 other tickets matched only the white balls, but only his ticket also matched the red Powerball. At that time, this win was the largest in the history of the state. Godfrey chose a lump sum payment of $496 million before taxes. While journalists were trying to track him down, he had already founded a charitable foundation in order, as he put it, to do good in a targeted way. Let us hope he succeeds, especially if his good deeds are as large as his check. $731.1 million, year 2021. At the very beginning of 2021, Powerball once again exploded in the news. The top prize was $731 million. The win went to a mysterious group that called themselves Power Pack. No one knows who these people are, and we are unlikely to find out. But one thing is known: they bought the ticket in the small town of Lonaconing, Maryland, a former mining settlement with a population of a little more than 1,200 people. As you can imagine, when in such a place someone suddenly wins $750 million, real chaos begins. People speculated who it was and, of course, hoped that the lucky winners would share. One family, the Winterbrenners, were suspected so strongly that they had to write an open letter to the local newspaper, stating that they were not the ones everyone was looking for. Even the mayor declared publicly that Mr. Winterbrenner definitely had not bought that winning ticket. Meanwhile, the real winners from Power Pack preferred to remain silent. Perhaps that was the wisest decision. $754.6 million, year 2023. February 2023 brought another loud victory. Becky Bell, an employee at Boeing in the state of Washington, went into a supermarket and saw that the Powerball jackpot had reached $747 million. This coincidence with the legendary Boeing 747 seemed symbolic to her. She bought 2 tickets, simply following her intuition. Soon the amount grew to $754.6 million, and luck smiled exactly on her. Becky won the largest jackpot in the history of Washington state. She chose a lump sum payment of $407 million before taxes. Now her name is forever inscribed in the Golden Chronicle of Powerball. Perhaps one day one of Boeing's new airliners will even bear her name. $758.7 million, year 2017. The next story is full of emotion. In 2017, Mavis Wanchik from Massachusetts did not put things off. When she found out that she had won $758.7 million, the largest jackpot ever won by a single person at that time, she cashed in her ticket the very next day. Before lunch that day, she had already filed her resignation from the hospital where she worked as a nurse. She was 53 years old, and as she told reporters, she was ready to retire and simply relax. Experts, of course, advise not to rush into such decisions, but Mavis did not wait. Let us hope her choice brought her only joy and freedom. $768 million. March 27, 2019, the date on which the previous record was broken. The winner was Manuel Franco, a 24-year-old guy from Wisconsin. Before that, he had less than $1,000 in his bank account. After the win, that fact no longer mattered. Manuel chose a lump sum payout of $477 million before taxes. As soon as he appeared publicly, his life changed. Media attention, requests for help, pushy friends, all of this forced him to quickly disappear from public view. Since then, he has given no interviews and has almost vanished from sight. Well, perhaps this is what a sensible financial strategy looks like. You win, you disappear, and you celebrate your birthday in some mansion without worrying about tomorrow. $1,050 million, year 2021. At last, we have crossed the billion mark. On January 22, 2021, the Mega Millions jackpot reached the phenomenal sum of $1,050 million. And again, the winners chose to stay in the shadows. 4 lucky people from Michigan united in a group called Wolverine FLL Club. Perhaps they really were fans of the local team, or maybe they just liked animals. In any case, they acted wisely. They hired a lawyer, prepared all the paperwork, and quietly claimed their prize. They chose a lump sum payment of $557 million. Divided among the 4 of them, each received $139 million. Even after taxes, that is enough not only to buy the rarest cars in the world, but also, for example, to live on a diet of nothing but caviar and truffles. According to their attorney, the members of the club also intend to support charities in southeastern Michigan. A noble decision. $1,340 million, year 2022. When jackpot amounts start approaching $1.5 billion, winners become extremely cautious, and rightly so. The Mega Millions jackpot drawn on July 29, 2022 was the result of 29 consecutive draws without a winner. As a result, the prize amount grew to a staggering $1,340 million. The winning ticket was bought at a gas station north of Chicago, but for a long time no one knew who exactly owned it. In Illinois, winners have only 60 days to present the ticket, and these lucky people used almost all of that time. Only 54 days after the drawing did a certain couple come forward. By then, they had thought through every detail. They had spoken with lawyers and financial advisors, created the necessary legal structure, and only then officially presented the ticket. They chose a lump sum payment, receiving $780.5 million before taxes. And that is all we know about them. They slipped into the shadows and are probably enjoying life on some island, or in a mansion with an underground movie theater and its own winery. $1,348 million. This win was another step toward the very top. Mega Millions reached $1,348 million in the year 2023. This time, the ticket was bought in the state of Maine, in the small town of Lebanon. But who exactly became the lucky owner of this sum remains a mystery. The winner claimed the money on behalf of a company called Lacoma Island Investments. They chose a lump sum payment of $723 million before taxes. Sounds like something straight out of Hollywood, doesn't it? A secret company, multi-million-dollar sums, unknown owners. The intrigue is heightened by the fact that no island named Lacoma actually exists. The name may have been invented simply for disguise, or perhaps it carries some personal meaning. If you manage to decipher it, maybe you will be closer to the truth than anyone else. Number 3, $1,537 million, year 2018. Here we have the largest jackpot ever won with a single ticket. On October 23, 2018, Mega Millions hit a colossal $1,537 million. The ticket was bought in the town of Simpsonville, South Carolina. And yes, we still do not know who exactly the winner was. The woman who bought the ticket remained anonymous, but she did something that earned her public respect. She began to actively donate to charity. Choosing a lump sum payout of $878 million before taxes, she immediately directed part of the money to help victims of a hurricane in South Carolina and to recovery after a tornado in Alabama. In addition, she supported a breast cancer charity, a Ronald McDonald House, and the local Simpsonville Arts Center. A wonderful example of how enormous money can be turned into enormous help. Number 2. $1,586 million, year 2016. Now we come to second place, and until recently, this was the absolute record for lottery jackpot size. Powerball reached the unbelievable figure of $1,586 million on January 13th, 2016. There were 3 winners and they shared the prize. As a result, each received only $528 million. Still sounds like a dream. None of the winners chose to hide. The first to appear publicly were John and Lisa Robinson from Munford, Tennessee. They even went on the Today Show to personally announce their win, but the attention turned out to be overwhelming. Journalists and fortune hunters besieged them. They had to move. Now they live by a lake in a more secluded place. The second winners to come forward were Maureen Smith and David Kaltschmidt from Florida. They did not go on a mansion buying spree or throw wild parties. Their one obvious luxury purchase was a Tesla for $90,000. Remember, this was 2016, when electric cars were only beginning to become fashionable. The third winners, Marvin and May Acosta from California, kept everyone waiting. California law requires that winners reveal their identity, but it does not require them to do so immediately. They took a 6-month pause to prepare their legal and financial framework. When everything was ready, they presented the ticket and received $265 million after taxes. They bought a new house but did not go overboard. Just 5 bedrooms costing $500,000. All 3 sets of winners turned out to be quite cautious, restrained, and, one might say, exemplary in dealing with their sudden wealth. But ahead lies a story that surpasses even this record. Number 1. $2,040 million, year 2023. The record that had held since 2016 was broken on November 8, 2022. That was when the Powerball jackpot reached a truly mind-boggling $2,040 million. And the most incredible part is that there was only one winning ticket. It was purchased in the small town of Altadena, California. The winner was a 30-year-old Los Angeles resident named Edwin Castro. Like most winners, he chose a lump sum payment. After taxes, he received about $997,600,000, almost $1 billion, all to one person. $1 billion went in commissions. What did he spend the money on? To start with, he bought himself a luxurious mansion for $25 million. Yes, at his level of wealth, that is practically pocket change. With even moderately successful investments, he can easily become a true billionaire in the coming years, and perhaps one of the most honestly enriched billionaires in history. But things turned out not to be so simple. Almost immediately after the results were announced, a man named Jose Rivera filed a lawsuit. He claimed that he, in fact, was the real buyer of the winning ticket. According to him, he lost the ticket, and then his landlord supposedly stole it. It was this man, Rivera says, who passed the ticket to Castro. What is interesting is that the landlord does not deny that he saw the ticket, but he insists that he did not steal anything. In any case, the prize ended up in Edwin Castro's hands, and under California lottery rules, the ticket must be presented. Whoever the original owner was, Castro was the one who presented the ticket. The court case is still ongoing, and the Pasadena police are conducting their own investigation. Castro, for his part, is asking the court to dismiss the lawsuit, but the final decision will be made only in September. This story is still unfolding, so what happens next? Time will tell. For now, he remains the only person in history to have received a jackpot of more than $2 billion. These are the fates of the people who won the 20 biggest lottery jackpots in history. In the next episode about lottery winners, we will show the dumbest winners, those who regretted their luck and even lost their lives because of envious people. Subscribe to the channel for the richest and watch our previous episodes. They are on your screen.